the left button will change to save PDF to your flash drive. If you're going to email, just press the email. Now, there's a few new things on the email. Before, you were only able to enter one email address in at a time and send it, and that was it. Now you can customize the default subject, the default message. You can do things like CC on BCC, so if you want to send to multiple people, you can. And there's a reply to function. So right now, it comes from a default email address that usually nobody monitors to check, so if somebody wants to actually reply to it, you can. Putting an email in the reply to function sends a notification to the user in the email saying, reply to this email if you would like a response back, basically. So if I'm sending my friend homework or something like that, I can tell him to respond to me by putting it in the reply to. And the three .com, .edu, and .org buttons are reprogrammable. So, I programmed one here that's going to be an actual @fau.edu button. So when you're typing your email in, you don't have to worry, it reduces the chance of people making typos. You can just hit the @fau.edu if they're sending it to their school email. If you want to do more than just email or USB and more than just the default file format of PDF, you can go to the More options. And this will take you to the screen where you can choose all the different types of file formats and all the different export options. There's information on your file on the side. So it shows you how many pages, it shows you what file size. If you want to rename the document, you can hit the rename button over here. So if you're saving on a flash drive or your cloud storage, it's going to be more than just the default KIC document. If you're doing things like searchable PDF, you can change that over here. So searchable PDF gives you the ability to run optical character recognition on the page. So when you have the PDF, you can actually find keywords and search the document. Regular PDF, which is the default, is just going to be images inside there. It's not going to be content aware or aware of what text is in there. You have JPEG and PNG for standard image formats. Word doc will take all the text from the page and put it into a Word document so you can actually edit the text. And audio will scan the page for text, convert it to an MP3 file, and play it back to you. So for visually impaired students, you have great function for that. And also, if you just want to listen to your book on audio because you're busy at the gym, driving, commuting, or whatever, you have the option for MP3 output. There is cloud storage capability, so when you send it, you can upload to the common cloud storage services. Google Drive will be available very soon. We're just reintegrating with their API to have better security on it, and you'll have Google Drive up here. And QR code will let you scan it with your phone, and it will download it straight to your device. So you don't have to worry about email file size, things like that. The nice thing with the email is that KIC knows what your file size limit is. So if you scan a document that goes over, let's say it's 20 megs, and you scan a document that's 40 megs, it's going to actually automatically break it up into 2 emails for you. So that way it never goes over the file size limit. And that's something that's automatic. Students don't have to enable that or do anything. Let's see. If you're scanning sensitive documents that you do not want plastered onto the big 24-inch preview monitor, right on the top there's a privacy button that will toggle the preview monitor to be disabled. Keep in mind that any settings that you change, software settings, scanner settings, any default file formats, anything that you change in the session, when you end the session, they're going to be reverted back to the default options that are in KIC. So no student is going to be able to reconfigure to their own settings, except for being in the session.
How long does that take?
For what, the reverting?
Reset back.
Oh, as soon as you end the session, everything's back to default. Now, if I export and I forget to hit end session afterwards, after 5 minutes, it will time out and automatically end the session. Or if I'm scanning and I take a phone call and I walk away from the scanner, after 5 minutes, it will automatically close the session and go back to the default idle screen. So before, in the older version of KIC, if you wanted to edit your images, the only things you were able to do were crop, split pages, and rotate the pages. We have drastically improved the image editor here, so you can do significantly more to your images now. So you can get to this by hitting the compose content, or by selecting whatever image you want, hitting the edit icon on the top left corner. So what this does, the general tab, is where you can do what you did before. That's where you're going to crop and rotate the pages. And actually, let me enable the preview monitor back on. So if you're cropping, you'll see the preview monitor actually updates the crop as you're going. So if you realize, whoops, cut the text off on the side, you can go ahead and readjust the clip zone. Rotating pages and then splitting pages can be done from the General tab. Each screen has a little question mark on it, so every page in the software has a help tab that will give you contextual help over the screen to show you what each function does on that page, basically. So something new is the Compose tab over here. So if I'm scanning 20, 30 pages, I'm a student, I have an exam coming up, and I want to make a study sheet or something from those 20 pages, I can actually go ahead in the Compose tab and say, all right, I'm going to draw a box around this little paragraph here and hit copy, and it will go to the clipboard. Go to my next page, I just want this portion of the image. I can either hit copy or I can just flick this onto the side and it goes onto the clipboard. And you go through all the pages that you want to just get certain portions from. And then you hit new page from clipboard. Over here, you choose what page size you would like. And then all those little zones that you just clipped onto the board, you can then resize, rotate, move around, and you can actually make your own study pages from here.
Can you go that one more time?
Yeah. So Compose, on any of the images that you scan, you're just going to take your finger and draw a box to the area that you would like. And then you can either hit the copy button, or you can just flick this onto the clipboard. And it will then take whatever is in this zone and put it onto the clipboard here.
Okay.
So then when you hit new page from clipboard, all those zones get dumped into an empty page that you can then, you can move them, resize them, move them around and everything to arrange them on whatever document you would like.
Okay. This information over here, this move, rotate, resize,
Yes.
that's not part of what you're just showing just now, am I correct?
This is just so if you don't like using touchscreen controls for rotating and pinching and zooming, you can use this to have buttons to basically move it. So this gives you the ability to do like precise movements that you might not be able to get with standard touchscreen controls.
I know students are going to ask.
Yeah, and every tab also has a question mark page, so it will kind of teach you how to use each page as well. The text tab, this is where you can go ahead and add things like annotations. So if you want to put your own captions underneath each page, you can go ahead and type your own annotations in here. And who knows, 2019 emojis, of course, are going to be on here. So if you wanted to add your own clip art and things like that, you have frames, borders, things like other types of objects that you can add to the screen. But what's really neat is this citation part right over here. So if you take a book and you're scanning 30 pages from that book and you're using it for an assignment for class, you can actually put citations in the document. So it will actually look up the ISBN number of the book. So this does not have it on the back. If it had it on the back, you can hit scan ISBN. It will automatically find the ISBN number and put all the publisher information in here. So if you actually had to cite your sources, you can actually do that in the KIC software.
So it should be at the front of the, like on the back side of the title page.
Here we go. So in this case, it's not on the back, so I'll just type it in here.
So you can't scan it.
It actually picks up the barcode that's on the back with the ISBN number. So yeah, I can show you on this one here. So it found the ISBN, and you go ahead and search, finds the book information here. And then from here, you can choose what type of citation you want. So if you want like full citation where it gives you like descriptions, everything, you can do that. You can use the keyboard here to modify what content you would like on here. Let's say we're just going to go with a short version. You hit OK. So now you can select this. You can change the font. You can make it bigger, smaller, other things. You go ahead and hit OK. And now you have the citation that you can move around and actually put it on the page. So very good for anybody who has to do research, anything that requires actual citations for scanning. And also helps with copyright notice and things like that. So if you're, once again, taking 20, 30 pages from a book, you can always properly cite your sources.
How does it decide how it's going to cite? There are different citation standards.
So right now we just have, I forget what default one they're using, but pretty soon they're going to have different types of citation formats that you can choose from. So there would be different options that you can select from.
Okay.
But right now I forget what the default one they're using, but it's one of the more standard kinds that people use. I'm not too familiar with it myself. I don't know the name of it, but I do know coming soon there will be options that you can select different types.
Okay, thanks.
And the last page is the effects tab. So when you create a new page, it's a default white background annotates the study. So here's a document I scanned recently at a conference. I'll go ahead and say I want to study this document here. So the tools I'm going to be showing you, we didn't invent these tools. These are tools that have been around for years. We're just combining them into an application. So the first tool is speed reading. So instead of reading through your text like normal, you focus on one word at a time, and it will go through at slower paces if you're new to speed reading. You can adjust the words per minute, and eventually you can actually read through documents much faster, focusing one word at a time. Like I said, speed reading has been around for a very long time. It's not anything new, but KIC gives you the ability now to take any print material and convert it to these forms of study. The next one is audio. So it's been proven time and again that if you listen to something while you read it at the same time, you actually retain information faster because you're learning through multiple senses, basically. So here, turn my volume on.
It needs daily mental and physical
Any book you scan, you will be able to convert to audio, and you can actually read along with it while listening to it at the same time. And you can increase and decrease the speed of the voice to match your own reading level.
Can you change the voice, male, female?
Right now, no. But it uses whatever the default voice of your phone is. So any Google phone will use Google's eerily human-sounding voice. Apple uses their own voice, so it's whatever your phone uses, pretty much. The last tab is flashcards. So if I wanted to actually make flashcards from these images to study from, at any point I can hit the plus button, and then, okay, I'll take this image here. It will make a question page for the flashcard. I can either crop or type an answer page. Save my flashcard. So when I'm done skimming and reading and doing all that, I can go to the flashcard tab and actually test myself with the flashcards. That actually has a scoring mechanism on the bottom that you have a dashboard page that you can see all your flashcards to see how many you got right, how many you got wrong, and where you need to focus your study time on. So any document you scan in KIC, you can go ahead and hit send to the app. It gives you the ability, if you would like to zone your text. So for speed reading and for read-along audio, any unnecessary text can be distracting. So you can go through here and say, okay, I don't want this text here, get rid of it. I only want this. You can go through and choose exactly which text zones you would like in your page. And then basically all you have to do is just import it from your app, download the QR code. Once it finishes finding all the text, you're going to go ahead and scan the QR code with your phone. And then within seconds, you actually have the document you just scanned on your device that you can then do, whether you want to read it like normal on your screen or take advantage of the KIC study system and go through here, it's up to you, but it's really fast transfers. You get it right away. You don't have to worry about making typos in emails, things like that, and you can get it on your device just from scanning the QR code. And then when you get done, end session, it will tell you, are you sure you want to end session? All images will be deleted. Just like before, once you hit yes, everything is deleted off the system. If you're logged into your cloud storage, that automatically logs you out. Any settings that you change are reverted back to the default settings, and it's now ready for the next patron to use.
So if I was using your app,
Yes.
and I happened to have scanned the QR code on my phone, but I found later I wanted to go ahead and look at my flashcards on iPad, is there any way to transfer between the two?
Yes, I don't know if they're introducing it or they just introduced multi-device support. So when you create an account with the app, you can have it on 3 devices. So the speed reading, the flashcards, and the audio, all the progress will be the same on any device that you go on. Any of those 3 devices. Any questions?
So one of the things we usually encounter as a support staff here,
Yeah.
occasionally we will run into a situation where a student hit 100 pages and then the system crashed.
Okay.
So on our end, how can we cover all these 100 pages? Because they've already spent an hour and a half scanning 100 pages.
So you can't, because if it crashes, KIC doesn't actually write anything to disk, so once it crashes, those are purged. However, this new version of the software, which when I'm done, I'm updating the other book guide to this version, is a much better version of the software. So the one you guys were using is 32-bit software, so it doesn't have access to all the memory that the computer has on it. So when you scan 100 images, those are pretty large files. So it was bogging down the machine before, it might have crashed the software. This one is 64-bit, so it's a much more stable version of the software, and it can handle a lot more pressure and other workloads on here. So you shouldn't have any issues with the system crashing. Now, if you do find out that some scans 400 pages on here and it crashes, and that's not a common thing, you actually can put scan count limits in the software. So if you only wanted to enable it so that way a user can only scan 150 pages, 200 pages, or whatever number you want, you can. And then once they reach that limit, it will gray out the scan button, and then they can edit and save their images from there. But this version, like I said, if you do experience with this new version it crashing and things like that, let us know, because so far we haven't heard any feedback about that.
The issue they're running into is books like this,
Yeah.
and that doesn't stay flat.
So yeah, I covered that at the beginning, I guess, so I'll show you again. These green buttons on the side are scan triggers. So if you have a book like this that doesn't want to lay open, minus the very first scan that you actually have to press the accept and scan over here, all you have to do is hold the book open, and then you can use your fingers to trigger a scan here.
Do you have to hit both sides?
You can hit both, you can hit the left, you can hit the right, they all do the same thing.
Okay.
And then there's a scan setting in here that if you go to the scan settings and you hit book mode. So this, you'll see right here, has a little curvature, my fingers are on the page and things like that. But if you have to hold the book open, you can use the book mode. It takes a little bit longer to scan, but this will actually try to flatten the curvature. And well, you'll see what it does. Gives you a much cleaner image automatically without having to go into like the image editor and crop your fingers out and things like that. It actually flattens the curvature and takes your fingers off the side of the page.
Even if your fingers were on the page.
Well, it will basically cut the fan of the book out.
Okay.
And so if you have your fingers right to the edge of the text, you'll still see a little of your finger.
Okay.
But I know sometime this year they're working on auto finger removal feature in KIC. So that way it actually looks for your finger on the page, and it will take your finger completely out of the page. The BookEye scanner, when I update it, will actually have that on it now. So if you have to hold your fingers open on the page on the BookEye, it will automatically take your fingers off the page when you go to the book mode setting. And the reason that's not a default is it does take twice as long to scan with the book mode on this scanner. So most users don't care if their fingers are holding the page open, because all they want to do is just read the content. But if you wanted nicer looking images, you can go ahead, like I said, scan settings and then change to book mode. One other thing I forgot to mention, if you're doing searchable PDFs, this version of the software now supports multiple languages for OCR. So if you have a book that's in Spanish, go to the settings, find Spanish in the list of languages, and then it will be able to do audio output to Spanish as well as searchability in that language. And basically any language that you see here, the software will now learn to recognize with the OCR, and it'll give you much better searchability results. We're also using a significantly better OCR engine in the software. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Abby Fine Reader, but that's basically like the top of the line OCR engine on the market right now. So that's what's doing all the searchability in the software. So it has like something like 250 something languages that you can use from here.
So the text doesn't change, the text remains in English?
Well, no, it's if you have a book that's in any of these languages, before it wouldn't be able to recognize what language it was. And if you did searchability, it might find some characters, but it wasn't able to actually recognize individual words.
Okay.
So before you scan, you just go ahead and select the language that the book is in, and it will then be able to know that, okay, this book isn't in English, I'm going to not look for English words, I'm going to look for whatever language that you have selected. But also coming this year, we're having a translation service on here. So if you scan a document in English, you can say translate to another language, and it will actually give you a translation of it. So that's another new feature coming sometime next year.
What kind of translator? Is it going to be Google Translator? Or?
Not sure yet, because that's, like I said, they told us it was coming. I don't know all the behind-the-scenes information on that. But I would imagine it would be something like Google Translate, where it's just, it's not it's a literal translation, not, some person actually translating it, but it will still give you pretty good results.
When we had a problem with a student who lost 100 pages or something, I don't know if it was because of the number of pages or exactly what, but when she first started out, I know you can do the select material, a lot of people are not going to be looking at that, they don't read directions.
They don't want the pages splitting. They can change it right over to single image. And then it won't do any page splitting, it will give you one image, regardless of what material you select. If they want lower quality, they can go to web quality. If they want higher quality, they go to print quality.
So that when they go into this will always override what they've chosen at the
Yeah,
top.
this just pre-configures, this basically just sets defaults in here, but you can always override it by hitting the settings gear. And that settings gear can also be accessed on the front screen right over here.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. So if you're scanning other things besides books, like if you're scanning, I think you had some loose paper. There's a few different ways that you can do this. One, you can scan one at a time, like just put them on the page one at a time, change the page. Or because they're loose sheets of paper and this is trained to recognize things like books, you can put one on the left side and one on the right side and have two separate pages like that, and it will automatically split the pages for you. But once again, it's different ways that you can scan. If you do have a lot of people coming in with loose sheets of paper, there is a document feeder add-on that you can get for this that will do all the loose sheets, like a sheet feeder basically. But that's something, like I said, that's if you have a lot of people, that's something you might want to look into. Any other questions?
How soon can Hector get the document feeder?
I don't know. I need a
Well,
quote.
we always have them in stock, so it's whenever you guys want one, send an order in and we'll be able to send it out right away pretty much.
I think that's a great feature, if we have the space for it.
Do you know what the setting is on this or the one downstairs or anything for the number of pages that will send out in an email?
As far as number of pages, there is no definite number because if I scan an image that's only this size at the low quality settings, I can get many more into the email before it starts splitting the pages, the emails into multiple documents. But it really is going to depend on what quality you're scanning at, what color options, and how big of an image you're scanning.
So I know that on other scanners, I've sometimes seen something where it will show as you're scanning what the file size is. Is there a way for people to be able to see that?
Yeah, that's in the information on your file. So if you go to the more output options, you'll see there's information on your file right here with like a range of like the size depending on what file format you select.
Okay, now if they decide, is there a way that they can do that without going to that screen? Because that indicates, am I correct, that they're done?
Are you talking
scanning?
about?
So if they want to get an idea how large the file size is going to be, if they are doing color photos and what a difference it would be if they did it in.
No, because there's no way for the scanner to actually pre-tell you what file, so if it looks at this page here and you say I'm going to scan this in high quality and in color, the scanner doesn't know what content you're putting on the scanner to scan next. So the only way to actually get it is after you scan it, you go to the more output options to see it here. But and if you're worried about email, where if you're worried about losing your email because the file is too large, KIC knows what the limit is. So if you scan over that limit, regardless of how much you scan over by, it automatically breaks it up into multiple emails for you. So like I said, if you scan 100 megs and your email is only 20, you're going to get 5 emails with the attachment split for you.
Okay, I'm just going based on the problem that we've had before. Once you find out the file size, is there any way you could go back in and
Change that.
continue scanning? Or once you hit?
No, if you hit more and you realize I want to scan some more, you just go hit back. And then it leaves your session open and you can continue scanning from there.
Okay. That's a huge help.
Yeah.
And I think with the cloud options as well, I think that's probably one thing we can probably start steering people away from email.
Yeah.
With the cloud option, give them more storage in terms of the size of the document.
And there's no file size limit on uploading to cloud storage.
Yeah, we have OneDrive. I think all the students should have access to OneDrive, right?
They should.
Were you guys Google before at one point, or?
Yeah, I think students have Google.
Yeah, because pretty thought it was Google. 'Cause either way, you have access to, like right now it's disabled, but you would have Google Drive, Dropbox, Box, and OneDrive basically.
Yeah.
So once you select that, you just enter your username and password, and then it will save it to your cloud storage. KIC does not remember your password It doesn't store any of that information anywhere, and it automatically logs you out once you get done saving. So no user is going to have to worry about logging out if they forget to, there's no log out button. Once you save, it just saves it and logs you out.
So the students can choose which cloud to upload it to? Like say
Yes.
if they have a personal one?
Exactly. It will give you basically a little web browser window that pops up that you type your own username and password, so you can save it to really any account you want. And I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but these can also be hooked up to printers. So if you guys have printers around and you want to offer printing on them, you can enable these to any printer pretty much. So you can actually, do you guys have printers and photocopiers, or is it just
We do
photocopiers?
have printer because I guess the only issue I could see with this one is authentication, because with printings, each student have to release within their own.
What print server print release do you guys use?
We're doing paper cut.
This integrates with PaperCut. So then what they'll do is once you hit print and hit send, it will prompt you. I think PaperCut requires a username and password.
Yeah.
So you just type your username, password, go to the print release station, scan
Oh,
your
that'd be
card or
great.
whatever, and then you'll see the print jump there.
So that'd be great if we can add that.
Yeah, actually, a lot of universities, once they hook this up to a printer, they'll see that photocopiers are no longer necessary, because what is a photocopier but a very overpriced printer with a clunky scanner on top of it, So if you guys want to look to see where you can save on technology that is pretty much obsolete in libraries now, putting this to PaperCut is basically having a photocopier, but without the extremely high cost that they carry.
So on our end, what we would need to do to get the printing to work?
The same way any Windows PC here would be configured with the PaperCut client, you would install that on here, and then inside the KIC setup, you would go and hit Enable Printer, and then there's an option for PaperCut, and you just follow the steps, basically.
Now, the machines right now, at the moment, they're pretty much getting a print queue from Windows, like Google policy, so they're not using a PaperCut client. So we would have to get the PaperCut client on this machine to install it.
Yes, because it needs to have some kind of connection with the PaperCut server. Now this is Windows running here, so you might be able to get away with that, but each PC a user logs in, so it already knows what user is associated with that machine, so it already knows what account is being used. This would need the PaperCut client because it's a kiosk system, so it doesn't know what user is using it at all times. So then when you hit print, you would have to authenticate with the PaperCut server once you actually hit the print button. But like I said, it's something to consider, and at any point we can remote in to help you configure the printing setup part.
Machine, the ones downstairs by the reference.
Well, the other ClickMe has it. I'm going to update the Bookeye scanner because the Bookeye scanner is still running the old software. So I brought the flash drive with me so I can update the software.
For the big one?
Yeah, for
On
the
first
big
floor?
scanner. Yeah.
Oh, I guess maybe we can talk about it a little bit, because this machine is actually currently running Windows 7, I believe. Is it
10.
Windows 10? It's Windows 10, but we're running like an older version of Windows 10.
Should be fine.